Hello, everyone. Resident Evil Fantasy, what is going on? Thanks for being here. We're going to do a little quick half-hour session of us talking about some of the new Resident Evil news. So instead of doing a traditional video of me editing, I feel like it'd be cool to discuss some of it with whoever really comes in the chat. I should have done it more of a notice ahead of time, but, you know, this is just me doing this. So until we get there, yeah, we're gonna, just kind of wing it and see what happens. So there's been a lot of news recently. This has been something that has come to a lot of people's attentions, actually, because considering that this specific news story is kind of a long time coming, but a lot of people, a lot of people knew about it, but I guess it's the point that now we're actually getting some kind of idea of what's going on, because they've been quiet about it. They've been very reluctant to even share anything, but that's because obviously they've been very busy working on it, and that is the Resident Evil 2 remake. Now, as we may not have a release date, we we have a window of when it's going to be released. So Capcom, they teased a major title to be released in March of 2018. This would be the 20th anniversary of Resident Evil 2. At that point, well, it'd be over because it'd be January of 1998. So, with that being said, the overall window of that makes a lot of sense. Like, I honestly feel like at E3 we might be seeing some kind of drop or some kind of plan that we're going to be seeing here as far as how they're going to set up the release of Resident Evil 2. And that's good, because we haven't heard anything really since they're kind of in the thick of it, getting getting a bunch of people to try to say, all right, you know what, the Resident Evil 2 remake is going to be coming out soon. We don't know when, but we obviously knew that they were going to do 7 first, because that was the main priority, which was 7. And we'll get to 7 because there's some stuff that we'll talk about with that as well, as far as recent news and stuff. But the Resident Evil 2 remake's the big thing, because a lot of people that don't like Resident Evil 7, or don't like Resident Evil now anyway, they're going to be playing Resident Evil 2 remake. For the most part, they're going to be. And I think that that's another way of them saying, hey, you know what, we're going to be just trying to release this for people that want to play it. I feel like Resident Evil 2 Remake is going to sell better than Resident Evil 7. But that's my personal opinion, unless it's that much of a thing where they don't feel like it's going to project as many. But I feel like if they they release it, they make a deluxe edition, they make something special for the fans, like a physical, and you don't fuck it up like you did with the special editions of RE7, that would be a good way of swaying it in the right direction. I don't necessarily think that they're going to be going at it in a sense where they're going to be thinking about how much it's going to sell. I don't think they have to worry too much about Resident Evil 2 Remake. I mean, so far, that's all we know. We don't know a plan. We don't know who's acting in it. But yeah, where's Barry? What's going on, man? It's good to have you here. Really happy you're in here, and I want to actually see who is actually all in the chat right now. But as I do that, yeah, like the nostalgia factor of that is super important, because that is, again, people, Resident Evil 2 being as big as it is, there's going to be a lot of people that are just like, I just want to play it. Like, they haven't played it in years, or You also have the casual people that, don't own it anymore, or they don't have easy accessibility to the old versions of it, of PS1, N64, Dreamcast, GameCube, PC. These, it's not like these games are really easy to get unless you're really trying to buy them online. Think of it this way: unless you have a PS3 and go online, you can get the digital copy. That's probably the easiest way for someone who isn't used to Resident Evil and they want to check it out and they want to play it. That's the easiest way for them to get a hold of it. If you're a collector, you're going to be going on eBay, you're going to be going to Amazon, you're going to be going to these sellers to get the physical copy. So think of the general market of people that, might haven't played it since it came out, or since the 90s or early 2000s. Think of it that way. They're going to buy Resident Evil 2 Remake if they just remember how awesome Resident Evil 2 was. And it still is to this day. And that's why it has that, staple as being people's favorites. And exactly my point is that's going to be fine. I don't think they have to necessarily worry about that. I think they're going to be in a place where they can easily release this. What's going on, King Game Author? What's going on? Hope you're having a good time today. What's going on, Kurt Richard? Hope you're enjoying yourselves. But yeah, so for all of you who are just joining me, we're talking about... God, I have to clear my throat. We're talking about Resident Evil 2 Remake and how this will actually do. Now, it is slated for a March 2018. We think that's their major title. What else could it be, really? I mean, there's not, I don't really think they can pull a fast one and say, oh, but it's something like this, because you got Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite coming out. Resident Evil 7's already out. The DLC, Resident Evil 7's done. The DLC, we'll talk about that in a second. But that's done, and they're going to be thinking of a way to make... Because here's the thing. I don't care, us fans don't care how well... We want the games to do well, but at the end of the day, something like Resident Evil 2 is going to be made cater to the fans of the series. You're not going to have, some casual person being like, oh, I want to play Resident Evil 2. That's not going to happen. If someone's playing Resident Evil 2... They've either played Remake, which has been on the marketplace, which is now easily, granted by just, getting PSN or Xbox Live. You can get it digitally. You can buy the physical now in the Origins collection. They're going to be playing Resident Evil 2. I don't think a random person is going to be like, oh, I want to play Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 7 had that casual audience approach. They had the scare cam LPs. They had the people getting scared and playing it in VR. So it had that attraction to it on top of fans that, that actually want to do it. Where's Bear said, better not be Disney Afternoon Part 2. Yeah, well, here's the thing. I think that, that's the thing. When we observe these games as fans, right, and we try to get a hold of everything that we're getting, nowadays and how the games are being released, it's very hard to pinpoint what they're going to do with 2. 7, as many of you know, I wasn't a big fan of how the DLC was and still is being released. I don't really... I played it, I've streamed it, it's fun, it's fine, but at the same time, it's just not the way I think they should be going about it. Resident Evil 2 should be released complete. It should be released complete. It should have fixed camera angles. It should have everything that we loved about Resident Evil 2. It can't be first person. It should not be behind the back. It needs to at least be fixed camera angles or have the choice. But at the same time, I don't really know if they're going that route. That does take a lot of work, but they could easily do it. As long as Resident Evil 2 is still under development, anything can really happen. I really don't think that all of these people are going to be sitting here thinking, well, I want Resident Evil 2 in first person, because like I said, Resident Evil 2's audience, that whole audience that it's catering to is going to be fans that love Resident Evil, okay? And if it is a newer fan, then so be it. If Resident Evil 2 gets people on board with the series and they play Remake and Resident Evil, let's say if they play Remake and Resident Evil 2 Remake, and that gets them into the series, and then they go back and they play 3, and they play Code Veronica, and by all means, that's amazing. That's great. I mean, that's what, because Resident Evil isn't the biggest game ever. It's a big franchise, but it does take a lot of, attention. You do have to do a lot of puzzles. You have to be used to the acquired style. Resident Evil Remake was popular because it was everything that we loved about the first one on steroids. It was literally it was just so good. Like the graphics, the voice acting, everything was redone, and and added more. It did things that it couldn't even do. But at the same time, what are you gonna do? I mean, it's gonna be one of those things where you have, the audience there, and they're going to be playing the games nowadays because now Remake isn't on GameCube anymore. So it has that a kind of, audience right there. So the more people that the more people that it brings in is perfectly fine. And that's, and that's great and all. What's going on, Dark Soul? Yeah, I did see Perry's video. I didn't, plug the game complainers in the last update video, but that's nothing. Like, I didn't do that on I barely got that update video out anyway. When I wrote pinpoints, and I didn't write like game complainers in there. It's not, that's not. It's nothing against anybody. It's just I forgot to do it, and so I don't want him. I'm not leaving the show. I'm still doing game complainers. It's every single Wednesday live that I'm there. And, Perry's a great friend of mine. I've been friends with him for years, friends with my brother for years. I consider him almost like family, not even just someone that I talk to online. So I have nothing against that. There's nothing wrong. There's no beef. There's nothing, you know what I mean? I'm still going to be in the show every single Wednesday, as long as he wants me there. So, that's just the way it's always been. But the Resident Evil 2 remake stuff, like I said, it's going to be one of those things where there's always just going to be a like I said, an audience member for that. I think that for Resident Evil fans, this is going to be a big release, and I really hope they do some cool stuff with like maybe some collector's editions. Maybe they could do some kind of cool like limited edition stuff, anything to make it, a one, because it's going to be, released one time and then that's it. So they got to make it really appealing to the fans in any way, shape, or form. Whether it's the aesthetic of how it looks and making it look, dark, making Raccoon City look just amazing in these next-gen graphics. But, I think that it's going to be cool. So that is something that came out, like I said, recently, that we got. That was somewhat of an update of Resident Evil 2, March 2018. That's what it's looking like, and that's what I figured. I figured that they were going to tease it this year and then just like, build up the hype. People that may not know about it because it's still kind of an underground thing. Like, okay, it's not underground, but it's more so of like, people that are really like up to date with Resident Evil news knows that it's being made, right? But the casual people might not know that it's being made. So, like, if you're at E3 or you have an attendance of people, and you come out and you're like, Resident Evil 2, and they're like, holy shit, I remember that game, and then they all of a sudden they pre-order it, or they, they're ready to buy it. It's going to happen. So I really hope that E3 we can kind of walk away with some kind of news of a trailer, of maybe a clip, some gameplay, maybe both. I don't know what Capcom has planned, but I feel like if it's something that's coming out next year, you got to talk about it this year. You got to advertise it this year. We're getting something. We're getting a trailer this year. I do not doubt that whatsoever. Obviously, considering if it is coming out, even if it's coming out next year, even if it isn't coming out March 2018 and it's coming out next year, there has to be some kind of coverage on it this year. There has to be. But yeah, so, well, Capcom, they, what's going on in the ward? Capcom, they put out, it was on their schedule of releases, or upcoming releases, and they said major title 2018. They didn't say Resident Evil 2 Remake 2018, like March 2018, but the only other major title that it could be, that's it. So we're hoping that that's what that is. Considering considering the fact that it is going to be, 20 years anniversary, I would not put that past them that's what they're doing. Where's Barry mentioned he hopes it's something more than a teaser where they just show the logo from her thumbnail and slowly from the darkness. That would be cool. That would be really cool. See, that would be something that would just slowly drop it, and then that's it. And then people know, like, if they did that, if they did a logo and then they did 2018 or whatever, 2018, that would be fucking awesome. There's been rumors that they might bring back DMC, is what the Ward Production said. That would be cool. Here's the thing. I never played the rest of Devil May Cry. I played the first one, and I played a little bit of the reboot thing. I don't know what that was. Whatever that is. I always wanted to get it. I like the first one a lot. So, it's been years since I've played it. But I guess we'll see. Devil May Cry would be great. Devil May Cry, Dino Crisis. I mean, all of these games that need to just be revived already. And that's exactly what needs to happen. They're not going to be, I feel like there's a lot of IPs that they're sitting on that they just need to bring back. And, we've talked about this on the Game Complainers. We've talked about this on the podcast of Resident Evil. We've talked about this as gaming in general. I feel like this generation of gaming, they need to have some kind of grasp on what they're doing as far as, like, Siphon Filter. What the hell, man? Bring back Siphon Filter. Bring back Jumping Flash. Bring back Twisted Metal. Bring back certain, obviously these are different companies we're talking about, but a lot of companies nowadays, they have games a part of their, that they own, that they don't pay attention to. If they brought certain things back, I mean, I feel like it's going to be, not only catering to people that are fans of it, but people that want to see these games again. And that's where you can get your audience. Dino Crisis, if a lot of people didn't get Dino Crisis when it came out or don't even know what the hell it is, they see it now, they're going to be like, what? Like, Capcom makes this, they made Resident Evil. It's going to be that same excitement that they had back then, And Dino Crisis, again, is still a great game. It's more so of Resident Evil, but maybe they can rework it to where it's something of more of its own game again. So, who knows? So Kurt said it's either Resident Evil 2 Remake, Devil May Cry 5, or a new Monster Hunter. Let's hope not. If they said Devil May Cry 5 and Resident Evil 2 Remake, I agree, or Mega Man 10. Mega Man, okay, so I'm really off the books with Mega Man. I don't know how the Mega Man thing is. I don't know how the series, I've only played a couple. I played 8 on PS1, but that's it. So if there's any Mega Man fans out there and you think that they're going to be putting something out, then speak up and maybe I can get some more information on that. What's going on, Tales of Caliber? What's going on, man? So Resident Evil 2 Remake, who knows? That's the plan for now. We do know it is deep in production, and that is cool. So let's switch this over to Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7 DLC. Okay, not a hero DLC. This has been delayed. I don't know if this is going to be is there a certain date, but they recently put out a video and they stated that they were going to delay the DLC because it did not meet the expectations of the game. On top of this news, on top of the news that we have, okay, we found out that Resident Evil 7 did not hit its target. What's going on, Egg Ghosta? So, I think that Resident Evil 7 did well. People, you read news articles and you read these false headlines and they make it seem like the game was a flop. It wasn't a flop. I mean, it sold well. I mean, if anything, it got well received. And that's a reason why they're fucking delaying the DLC. That's the point. They're going to be delaying the DLC because they want to meet the game's expectation, or they want to meet people's expectations. If the game flopped and the game didn't do well, I think they probably would have just released the DLC already. I look, I don't know what it was, but you know, the it sold 3 million copies. Okay, and they figured by the end of the year it could go up to 4 million copies, right? So it didn't sell. It didn't sell as much as they thought at the time, but it was short only a couple units. It's only 500,000 short, like Kurt Richards said, 500,000, short. But yeah, always set your goals high, and that's what Where's Barry said. That's what he's saying in the chat right now, and all you guys, are saying it did all right, and that's the thing. So you guys, you're not reading false headlines and just believing whatever. You're actually, paying attention, and that's the main thing. It's that it's really about them wanting to perfect it. And look, it's free DLC, okay? So you're thinking, think about it as is the series stands, right? You're going to have people that played it, liked it, and that's whatever. Look, the free DLC is going to be free, so everybody who owns RE7 is going to be playing this DLC. Those, almost 4 million people. And so that's the thing, is that it's being released to the masses, this DLC. So to make them take a step back, work on it a little bit, see what's going on, that's going to be something that is good. It's a good thing for them. That's the thing. We have a fan base where the Resident Evil fans they wanted something better than 6, and they got 7. If everybody's seen my review on 7, if not, go check it out. But I mean, everything is, as it is. Like I said, it's a step in the right direction. Okay, Resident Evil 7 itself is something that was a lot better than 6, had a lot more potential, but this DLC looks like it's giving more thought into a character like Chris Redfield that we know and love. It's establishing Umbrella, or what's going on with Umbrella, what's going on with Chris. I'm intrigued by this story that they're going to tell us in this DLC. And if that has them taking a step back and actually doing this, and that's fine. And there's people, such as like Perry, for example, who completely, disagrees, and that's fine. He has his own opinion, and he said that, he just doesn't think that it is what it used to be. And that's perfectly fine. I understand that it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And Perry is, Perry's been around when these games were actually coming out. So I like hearing different opinions, and I like hearing different perspectives. And I do like hearing what everybody has to say about it. I'm just curious to see where this is going to take us. Because if this DLC is going to be the last DLC we got all the banned footage, we got all the extra little mini games here and there, we got the, all that stuff out of the way. So this is going to put an end cap on the RE7 game as a whole. What's going on, Safety Edge? Good to have you here. What's going on, No Man's Sky, Resident Evil, or Sick Player, rather. What's going on, guys? That's the thing with, Adzi Tadzi. I think that's how I'm saying that right. What's going on, man? But yeah, so the main thing with the RE7, RE7 came out with the banned footage volume 1 and 2. And within the banned footage, they had several, certain minigames, like Ethan Must Die, and the whole, kind of survival mode deal. And yes, this will be archived as well, man. So if you missed it, this is going to be, archived right after this, so you won't miss a beat. Don't worry, man. But yeah, the thing is there's going to be that kind of, attraction to those DLCs, because people want to play more, and I played them and I streamed them and enjoyed them for what they were. I do wish they were released a little bit differently, or maybe they put a little bit time in there, but the Not a Hero DLC is a free DLC. So banned footage 1 and 2 is done. They filled in what happened with the family, the Baker family, What's going on, Aaron? Long time listener, first time comment. Well, good to have you here. They told you what happened with the Troy. So, oh my God, I don't even know what I'm saying. They told you what happened with They had everything from point A to point B. You're thinking of Resident Evil 7 as a game that's putting the effects on the whole. This is what the family is on now. So from where it started, they're trying to have you follow this family in this new story. Not a Hero DLC looks like it's trying to put the old with the new. But I don't think that, I don't know what they're going to do. I guess we're going to see. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to have the overall story kind of come together with maybe Not a Hero. I don't know what they're doing. That's why I think it's cool that they're not saying a lot about it. There might be stuff leaked online and whatnot, but I guess I don't want to read it for one. I just kind of want to play it and experience it. I do want to play as Chris Redfield. He is one of my favorite characters. And I do think it's going to be interesting. Maybe we'll see some other hints somewhere. We saw a lot of hints placed throughout the game, which I mentioned in my review that I greatly appreciated. So if there's any more reference to the other games and maybe there's more story unraveling and stuff, they're going to have that kind of level of continuity to the series. And I appreciate that. I really do. And the main thing that I didn't want was RE7 to completely flat out ignore and start over, which they started over, but they built it from the ground up with a new family, and Where's Barry said, I think they want to pull in RE fans who didn't like the new game by using classic characters to help them hit their sales goal. That, you know what? That could be a thing too. That could be another thing. Because you're right. People hear Ethan, they're like, who the fuck's Ethan? People who are Chris Redfield, they're like, holy shit, Chris is in RE7? And then they could buy it and stuff. And don't worry. And Where's Barry makes a point, and I talked about this on the podcast, on the Resident Evil podcast. There's going to be a version of this game released later this year, I assure you, that has all of this DLC included. That will also boost the sales of the game. And it will be interesting to see, what he's been up to since 6. That's what Resident Evil Fantasy said as well. Yeah, it will be interesting to see that, and it will be... And of course, we got Vendetta coming out, which is still in the story. It's still canonical to the series. So, when that comes out, and we'll actually touch on that too. There's some news about that. That's going to be a thing where they're going to be able to hit their sales goal. Yo, what's going on, Nash? And that's going to be just kind of where they're going to be. Chris Redfield, would it sell copies? Yeah. But I do think that, people maybe getting it for Christmas or getting it for holidays and stuff, and there's a complete version and everything's in there, and they advertise, like, Chris being in, like, if he's on the back of the cover or something. Anything you have to do, it's business. This is a business, and that's exactly what it is. So whatever they have to do to increase those sales, it's fine. It's not like the game did that bad to where they are desperate. I don't really think they have to do that. They're going to release a complete version of this game with all the DLC on the back end of it, regardless of sales. They're going to do that anyway. That's every single game that's come out with several DLCs has always had a version of it that had all of the DLC included in it. That is 100% fact. So if they decide to do it like that, that's perfectly fine. I don't think that they're going to have to worry about all of them kind of having a different kind of approach to it, because, they're going to kind of stick with the same mindset. He said, I wonder if RE8 will continue to be hard since RE7 did not reach their sales goal. You know what? I honestly think that they're not. I don't think they're going to change it. I think they're going to stick to it, because keep in mind, regardless of sales, the overall reception, fans and non-fans of the series, have been positive. That's all they need. RE6 had a lot of backlash from fans, and the main thing that they said, and when we did the podcast back in 2013, okay, we were the first Resident Evil podcast. We started that podcast when Resident Evil was like at a down point. So it wasn't even like a thing where they were planning on doing 7. It wasn't even on the books. They were saying that they wanted to pay attention to the fans. They wanted to listen to what they had to say. That was very important because not only that were the sales for 6 were good. Like they were really good. It was the reviews that were bad. And so when we talked about that, when we would read articles and stuff, and we'd say they were like, "Oh, we're going to listen to the fans. We're going to do that." So they have been doing that. I mean, they did it for RE2 Remake. That's why that's even a thing. So when they're able to actually release it in a sense where they're listening to the fans, I don't think they're going to stop doing that. In my opinion, I don't think so. I think it'd be silly and I think it'd be stupid if they stopped. So it's just going to be more so, yeah. And it's like same thing with RE7 being released again. It is like The Witcher, or it's like something Elder Scrolls has been released a bunch of times and you get all the updates and the mods, or you know anything else that comes out. But at the same time, you have that idea of trying to go and do it. Now, could they stay in the first person perspective? They very much can. I mean, even this DLC, you're going to be playing as Chris in first person. So it's just, again, it's kind of it's the way that it is. But I think that at the end of the day, that's the thing that I think that, they're going to have to try to kind of impress us with what they do next. Didn't Capcom say once that RE6 sales were disappointing? I don't. They might have said that after the fact, but I know that it did sell pretty well. I think it's already sold. It already sold better than I think it sold better than RE7 currently. I think it sold like a decent. I might be wrong on that. I'm not too sure, but I do remember it selling really well because people bought it. People thought it was going to be great. It's like, oh, Chris and Leon like beating each other, fucking Sherry's back, like all that. So like that, made people buy it. It's not like people bought it because they thought it was a good game. People bought it thinking it was going to be a good game, and they were disappointed. Dark Souls said GJ made a video on a channel saying that there is a Code Veronica being released on the newer consoles. Do you think that could really happen? Absolutely. Yeah, I think Code Veronica isn't even on Steam, I don't think. So that needs to be kind of fit. I don't know if they're going to like update it. I think it'll probably be re-released in some kind of collection or by itself digitally or maybe physically. It has a big enough fan base, so who knows. But I think it could happen. I definitely, and it has a fan base too. So, but Capcom was short-sighted when RE1 and 0 didn't sell. Sure, yeah, I definitely think that that those games were great, but they didn't sell well. Remake did not sell well at all, back when it came out. So, hey man, what's your opinion on the infamous Chris face model? Did he get plastic surgery after Vendetta? I honestly, here's the thing. Here's the thing about that is his face and people saying about how he looks. It's different artists. I guarantee you the he looks like Resident Evil, he looks like Chris from RE6 and Vendetta, right? But I honestly think that it's just different artists. Like they just come in, they have different input, and I really hope they get the same guy back, does the voice. That would be really cool. And, I really got to see if he's doing it again. I got to look on his IMDb. But, yeah. And plus, yeah, RE0 and 1 were a Nintendo exclusive back then. But a lot of people, including Perry, he bought a GameCube just for Resident Evil. So there was a lot of people like that. And, justifiably so, because that game was fucking amazing on a GameCube. And then Ward said, Ward Production said, you can't blame Capcom for switching to first person. We have to remember that the fan base was complaining about tank controls and overall style of RE series that had to make a change. That's very true. That's really true, and they wanted to try some different things, and I respect them for that, and definitely commend them for that. Whereas Barry said RE6 almost sold 8 million sales, including Steam, so there you go right there. So that's relatively higher than RE7, definitely. So I just hope the next RE game doesn't depend on the first-person view. It depends on what they do. It really depends on what they do. I mean, think of it this way. What if RE2 people praise the fixed camera angles? Then what? What do you do? Is that only the people that like RE2, or those audience aren't going to be interested in RE8? I don't know. I guess we'll see. Um, we need Roided Redfield again. Yeah, I know. Punching boulders, always. Um, yeah, so I bought GameCube because of RE and the promises we would get all the older ones ported. Yeah, that's another reason, because they had an exclusive deal with Nintendo at the time, and them releasing everything. Plus, you had RE4 on the horizon, only being on GameCube for, I think, almost a year. I think it was January 2005 it was on GameCube, and October 2005 it was released on PS2. So that was a big deal. Um, what do you think about Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City for Definitive Edition? Need it or just a trash? They're actually doing a definitive edition of Operation Raccoon, are they? Because here's the thing, and you guys might hate me on this. My review still stands. It's still up. You can just go watch it from years ago when it came out. I didn't mind Raccoon City too much. It wasn't a great game, but it was fun co-op. It was like a SOCOM shooter, Resident Evil and Raccoon City, throwing everything at the wall, seeing what sticks. I thought it was pretty funny, and I thought the co-op was actually pretty enjoyable. I played with Perry, I played with Richard, I played with a bunch of random people online. It was a lot of fun, so I don't know if they're actually doing that. But, you know, I don't know. Dying Light, Dying Light, I did play a little bit of that. I never got too into that, but, it wasn't too bad. It was alright of a game, but even that got an exclusive definitive edition or ultimate edition. But I remember when I got to Zero and GameCube, amazing. Hopefully RE2 Remake goes back to that style. I'd still buy Resident Evil 2. Well, one thing that we're talking about earlier is that, meant for PS4 and Xbox One, Nash. I don't know. I mean, I don't... It's like, I would buy it just to, like, play with, like, fans. Like, if some of my fans got it and they wanted to play it with me, I'd do that, So that's where that would go. Dark Soul says he'd still buy Resident Evil 2 Remake even if it was in first person. Well, that's the thing. It's like, it depends on what they do, but in my opinion, Resident Evil 2 should not be in first person. That's just not what Resident Evil 2 is. I don't know. I think that would be, would it work for the people that like RE7? Sure. If they're only, like, and I'm talking the newer people that like RE7, sure. But, again, it is what it is. It's not, it's going to be something where we're just going to have to wait and see. But, I'm going to commit suicide if RE2's in first person. I mean, look, let's just hope for fixed camera angles. That's all I can say. I honestly just feel like it's going to be fixed. Have I heard the news of RE7 explaining the ending? I have not. I mean, I don't know what they came out and explained, or if they explained the kind of, I guess the whole, is it the connection to Umbrella Corps? Yeah, I mean, the Umbrella Corps thing makes sense because the Umbrella logo and everything is all updated, and that is exactly what we saw in Umbrella Corps. And as shit as Umbrella Corps was, and I played it, there are connections to the game. To this game. I mean, the logo is exactly the same. The updated Umbrella logo. And that's the same logo we see on the helicopter that Chris comes off of. So, it begs the question, are we going to find out what's going on? Oh, they said there's 2 Umbrella Corporations. Okay. So, Umbrella Corporation outline, right? Is that what it is? I mean, so it says a large pharmaceutical company. It says best known for the achievement in fields such as genome analytics, antivirus medicine, yet known as conducted research development, bioorganic weapons. The motto is protecting the health of the people, which is what the name of the company is derived from. The T-virus developed the purpose of creating immortal soldiers, led to the occurrence of Raccoon City incident, blah, blah, blah. Afterwards, confronted with accusations, records to the incident, Umbrella stock markets crashed, blah blah blah. That was already in 2003. We know that, and they went bankrupt. Um, but okay, so that's just from there. Well, I mean, I guess we'll see in the. Umbrella Corps Deluxe is $10 on PS Store right now. If anyone cares, don't know if you could still find a game. Yeah, those servers are just awful, and the lag was just bad. Um, Blue Umbrella and Red Umbrella. Okay, so there's two different ones that we're dealing with. Okay, I didn't know that, but now we know. I guess we'll find out more in the DLC again whenever that comes out. It's still the DLC is still not known for a date. They don't know yet. So, but I'd still go buy it even if it wasn't first person. That's good to see. Some people would still buy it. I mean, I'd still buy it, of course. It's Resident Evil 2, but who knows how much I'd actually how good it would actually be. Umbrella Core should be free, even though it probably wouldn't want to take up the space on the hard drive. Yeah, I mean, there was a physical edition of that game too, but I was like, do I really want to get that? Do I really want that on my shelf? I don't even know if I do. Bring back Outbreak before you even, put out something like that again. Yeah, so, but anyway, so that's the RE7 stuff until further notice, until we actually find out more of a date on anything. But we did find out that Resident Evil Vendetta is getting a worldwide release, limited release, which is coming out, I think, in July in the US. I really hope one of my theaters has it, because I do know that it is coming out. It was announced, I think, just either today or yesterday, that it's going to be released on Blu-ray and DVD on, I believe it's going to be July 18th. The digital release is going to be June 20th, and that is going to be only one day after its theatrical showing, so it's going to be, released then. Are you aware that the RE engine altering Claire Redfield and Leon Scott Kennedy appearances similar to what they did for Chris? Well, it really depends on the designers. I know that the people that are working on the Resident Evil 2 remake is a different team. The team that of the guy who made the video saying we do it and everything, and he bowed and stuff, that's a completely different team than RE7. That's, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I think that's what they're doing. Oh wow, the Ward, you just bought your tickets. I actually want to see how I can find out if it's showing somewhere, because I really want to see, what's going on with that. But because it's in select theaters, so I really just want to see what's going on. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna get it. I'm gonna own it, on Blu-ray, 4K, and all that good stuff. That's gonna be a lot of fun. But that is coming out, so first time Resident Evil has been released in the theaters for an animated feature. That's going to be pretty exciting. And then we also get, of course, oh wow, someone literally just tweeted. You just tweet me, man. Thank you. Nice. So Where's Barry? Shout out to Where's Barry, who just sent me where I can get the tickets for select locations. Thank you, Where's Barry. I really appreciate that. So yeah, I mean the overall idea. Oh, the zip code finder, dude. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's going to help me out a lot, because I do have a lot of theaters around me that have they do certain select releases that, because I saw, Ghost in the Shell, the new animated movie. Not the live action Ghost in the Shell, but when the new movie recently came out, that was a select in select theaters for, a few days. And the one by me actually had it, so that's actually cool. I'm looking forward to that. But I hope I can actually do it. I can do a kind of a review. I could do a review for the movie and stuff like that, and that'll be really fun. But yeah, so that movie is coming out, and it's gonna have that kind of feel to it, as far as we're going to be seeing Chris and Leon work together, but this time it's not going to be how shitty it was in RE6, where it was kind of just there for a couple minutes, they had a few cutscenes, and that was it. This time I kind of want to see more of their chemistry. I want to see how the voice actors are. I want to see how Rebecca is. So there's a lot of stuff that we can look forward to on that. So stay tuned for a review of that in the summer when that comes out. So that's going to be something I'm going to be looking forward to. I'll make sure I can take off for that day and just go see it. That'll be cool, depending on the time. It's probably gonna be later in the night, I assume. But you know, the Polito said nobody would want RE2 remake if it was in first person. Well, there's some people in the chat that beg to differ, but I mean, to each his own. Everybody has their personal preference as to what they want to do, and I think that would be, what they want to do as far as seeing or playing a Resident Evil game in a remake in a different perspective. But yeah, I mean that's like the main thing that I was saying is, you're never going to please everybody, but at the same time, at least try to just cater to the fans that really care about Resident Evil 2. And that's going to be a big thing that's going on. But yeah, until then, we don't know really what's going on with the RE7 DLC release date. We don't really know RE2 release date, nor do we know if Code Veronica is even coming out. But we will keep waiting until we get actual dates. We just know that all that stuff is possibly coming. Don't know about the Code Veronica, possibly. I mean, that'd be cool. I think if they did Outbreak, a lot of people would like that. I mean, I get a lot of people saying, do you think it'll be a good idea if Outbreak came back and, was online now? And that would be a lot of fun. Because that's how the game should be played. The game shouldn't be played any other way. So, it really can't be played like it was, because I'm sure people tunnel servers and stuff now, if they still want to play it on the PS2. But holy crap, that nowadays Resident Evil Outbreak would do very well. But anyway, I'm gonna wrap up this little quick discussion. I have 32 people in the chat right now. That is amazing. Thank you everybody for in the chat. You guys are awesome, and we have a lot of people giving their different insights and opinions and all that good stuff. So I want to thank all you guys for coming by and talking for a little bit. Just a little Resident Evil 2 is going to be a dating simulator. Yeah, I certainly hope not. That would be that would be awful. That really would be bad. Because the last thing you do is you don't want a fucking Resident Evil 2 game to be the exact opposite. Talk about first person being an issue. That would be a huge issue. But shout outs to all you guys for giving your input. I kind of want to do more of these live news update discussions as well, so I can kind of get your opinion. The reason why I did this is so I'm not only talking to myself, but I can actually go off some of your guys' ideas and also all that stuff. So I appreciate it. Thanks all you guys. Thank you again, Where's Barry, for also the link and also participating in the chat. Dark Soul, Polito, Safe the Edge, Sick Player, The Ward, Kurt Richard, Agosta, Rob S, thank you, Resident Evil Fantasy, let's see, Dara Kenny, Dark Souls, if I didn't say your name already, you got Tails Caliber, thank you, yeah, so the list goes on and on and on, but thank you guys so much. Now, I also want to say that you can catch the Let's Talk Resident Evil podcast soon. You go on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Let's Talk Resident Evil. You can also follow me on Twitter at JillSandwich988. And you can also follow me, or catch me, every single Wednesday night. We usually stream at nights on the Game Complainers podcast. This is a podcast that me and Perry do every single Wednesday. I did not plug it in the update video because I just forget, because I'm an asshole and I completely forget and overlook things. But you can catch us right there on the Game Complainers. So that's that. Everything's good on there. So stay tuned. We're going to be putting the podcast up on iTunes very soon. We're going to be rebranding it. It's going to be on iTunes and Libsyn, so you can easily do it. We're also going to be getting a mobile app for the Let's Talk Resident Evil podcast, so you can download the app on your phone and download episodes directly to your phone. Stay tuned. I'm in the works of getting an Allison Court interview. I'm in talks with the agent now. She's busy doing some stuff, but once we free up a schedule, I'm going to be setting up an interview with multiple people for the show. So stay tuned for all of this stuff coming. It's going to be awesome. So follow that on Facebook, follow on Twitter. You catch me on Game Complainers talking about all games and stuff like that. That's not about Resident Evil, but also about everything else gaming. And yeah, until then, I will catch you guys in the next one. Take it easy, everyone, and thanks for joining me.